Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here once again to talk about my top 10 worst movies of the 2010s decade. And the 2010s decade was pretty bad. I mean, even last night, it's 2021, I'm still watching, movies from all sorts of different times, including the 2010s decade. And last night I watched a movie from 2016 and it was fucking horrible. And so it's like, God, when's it gonna end with these bad movies from the 2010s decade? I mean, seriously. I don't think there's any other decade where there's as many bad movies as there have been in this decade. I'm serious about that. Like, the 70s, sure, it had some. The 80s, the 90s, 2000s, that sounds weird. But, 2010s, oh, God, terrible movies that they made in this decade. And, even, ranging back to the 40s, I don't think there's ever been a decade with movies this bad, for the most part. Because I got a little note card here, and it's got my dishonorable mentions, and usually I'd be able to just memorize it, but no. There's 23 mentions. That means that there's 23 movies that are so bad they could have been on a top 10 list. That's how bad this decade was. So, I'll just read them out loud. Glass, Halloween 2018, Little Fockers, Goosebumps the Movie, American Ultra, Force Awakens, Hot Tub Time Machine 2, Faults as in Faults with Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Swiss Army Man also with Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Sausage Party, Finding Dory, Yogi Bear, Fat Boy Chronicles, Beauty and the Beast with Emma Feminazi Watson, Jigsaw, probably the worst of the Saw series, Black Klansman, Incredibles 2, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. The book I highly recommend. The book is really good, and the movie shat all over the book, of course. The Raven with John Cusack, which I was really disappointed in. I was excited for that one. I thought that sounded pretty good. Godzilla 2014, Goodnight Mommy, Into the Woods, and then Red State. God. As you can see, those were fucking terrible movies. I mean, seriously, all these movies could have been top 10 worst. Maybe a few of them are kind of teetering. I would say Halloween 2018 is, at least it's more entertaining than most of these movies. However, it's still a huge pile of trash. And, yeah, I don't have anything else nice to say about those terrible movies. So let's get started. My number 10 is Neighbors 2. And now the first Neighbors I actually liked, kinda. It was a mediocre Seth Rogen movie. Typical Seth Rogen comedy. They have a couple of jokes that they just repeat over and over again. They have all this drama that has nothing to do with comedy that they sprinkle throughout it to make it seem like a legitimate movie. Oh, we're having relationship drama. We're having this kind of drama. And all that carries over to the second one. Even worse. The first one's actually pretty good. But I would never watch it again, probably. And Zac Efron, he's a big reason why the first movie was good. But in this movie, in Neighbors 2, you have Chloe Moretz, and they start off with the stupid plot where it's this bullshit where they say that sororities aren't allowed to party, and sororities have all these limitations placed on them. And, Chloe Moretz is this feminist who wants to fight back against the college patriarchy, and it's so stupid. And, I met Chloe Moretz in real life. She was really nice in real life, but this movie was just awful. And she was so terrible. She's like trying too hard, and she's like, I'm gonna say the C word. I'm gonna do this edgy thing while saying more cuss words, and like she was just so fake and just so non-threatening, like usual. And it was just a terrible movie. They had all this drama, like with Dave Franco's character that no one cared about. Like, do we really need to see like some stupid dramatic subplot where it's like, he's gay, but he's Zac Efron isn't like it's stupid, so stupid. And at the end of the movie, if that wasn't bad enough, they had a stupid teaser where they actually said they're gonna make a third movie, but with zombies. I mean, ugh, oh God. I'm glad they didn't do that. That would have been torture to watch. This movie was terrible. It was not funny at all. It was just a big FU, and it was a huge waste of time. Probably one of the worst movies of 2016, if not the worst movie of 2016, and that's saying something. Number 9 is Easy A. Now, this movie I have a personal connection to even more because let's just first off, I like Emma Stone a lot. I think she's great. I really like her actually as an actress. Um, she's really talented, and whenever she's in something, she really elevates it. Like in Superbad, Amazing Spider-Man. Like I can't wait to see what she does with Cruella de Vil. But this movie, Easy A, I just hated. It's so bad. It's so bad. And the concept, I mean, you have this concept where it's like a supposedly positive concept where this girl in high school gets slut shamed even though she isn't a slut, and then she wears a scarlet letter to school so that she can fight back against having rumors spread around and being called a whore and being called all these nasty things in the bathroom. And it's just so stupid. I mean, just so like bottom of the barrel comedy. Lots of drama. Like, this is one of those movies where it has like a lot of drama and it pretends to be a comedy in the trailer. I hate it when movies do that. That's one of my biggest pet peeves, when a movie disguises itself as a comedy in the trailer and then the movie is drama. And first off, like, they have this thing with saying Scarlet Letter is a heroic figure, the woman in that book. And I read that book in high school, and as soon as I read it, it actually made the movie even worse because she is not a heroine in the book at all. I mean, her character is insufferable. I mean, ugh. and so the fact that like she's made to be this heroic figure is just ridiculous. And then you have Emma Stone wearing the scarlet letter with the lingerie, like, just ugh. That's so dumb. And I had this type of thing happen to me where I had rumors spread around about me, and it basically painted everyone's view of me. And the way that this movie tells you to deal with that is just really insulting. And, it doesn't, like, offend me, but it really pisses me off the fact that they made this movie to supposedly, like, help people who had this happen to them. And then the movie is just, like, a big FU to us people. And it's just like, oh, yeah, you should just go around being happy that all this happens. And you should wear a scarlet letter. And like, it's just so, oh, God. And they put it on cable all the time because it's such a cheap, shitty movie. And just, ugh. I hate this movie. I hate Easy A. I hate it. Number 8 is The Girl. This is a movie about supposedly Tippi Hedren and her experience with Alfred Hitchcock when they shot The Birds and Marnie. And, this movie's just a big bunch of bullshit. It just screams as propaganda and as Tippi Hedren wants to make money off of saying terrible things about the great Alfred Hitchcock. When you hear all these other actresses talk about him, they say nothing but nice things about him. Like Shirley MacLaine from Trouble with Harry, she says amazing things about Hitchcock. And so many other people, they speak the world of him. And then there's this one bitch, this one stick in the mud named Tippi Hedren. And, she wants to raise money for her charity or whatever the fuck. And so she wrote, like, a book, I guess, and they made this shitty TV movie where it's like, oh, Alfred Hitchcock was a bad man, and he made inappropriate jokes, and he was creepy. And, it's just so, like, yeah, okay, shut up, okay? Like, this is just bullshit. It's stupid. It's just ridiculous. I mean, Vertigo had some of that type of, like, you could get the feeling that Hitchcock, he likes to be a voyeur from Vertigo, I guess. You get that impression, but, I mean, the way that they treat him in this movie, and he's also played by a midget in this movie, which is just even more insulting. The fact that they had a midget play Hitchcock, and he did a terrible job. It's probably one of the worst casting decisions of all time. What an insult. What a failure. Tippi Hedren was trash. Whomever played her, I can't even remember. It was just a trashy movie. I think it was even made for TV. They doled out all the colors to make the movie look dull and colorless and ugly. And just, I hate this movie. The Girl. My number 7 is Penguins of Madagascar. Ugh. God, to think I was excited for this movie. Because I watched the Madagascar movies as a kid, and so I was excited about like a Penguins spinoff. And then I watched the movie, and I felt just completely miserable the entire way through. There was nothing funny. There was nothing exciting. It was so babyish. It was like they took the Madagascar franchise, and they decided, instead of making it for everyone, let's just make it for 2-year-olds. And let's have this stupid tentacle monster villain. It's just, ugh. I hate this movie. And there's like some stupid heists. And it's so insulting to your intelligence. It's such a terrible movie. It was that bad that, like, I still remember the pain that I went through watching the movie. Number 6 is the Peanut Butter Falcon. Now, I know that's going to get me some flack. I don't care. I did not like the movie. I wanted to like it because I love Shia LaBeouf. And I thought, this seems like a positive type of movie. But no. This movie is heavily insulting. You have this main kid, and he's on the spectrum. And it's all about him wanting to escape. And so there's this extremely weird scene where this old man helps him get out of a window by giving him lotion to rub all over his body. And he rubs it all over his body in great detail. And then he squeezes himself out the window, and he's running around with underpants on and nothing else. The old man doesn't bother to throw him his clothes, to throw him food, to throw him anything to help him. And so this is this mentally disabled kid running around in his underwear the whole movie. It's just terrible. And then they even gave him like a shit stain. They gave him like an actual shit stain while he runs around in his underpants. It's so weird. It's so weird. And then you have this like plot where it's like ripping off Huckleberry Finn and ripping off all that other stuff they talked about in the movie. Like, it's just so like dumpy and bottom of the barrel. And you heard me talk about all the other stuff, like with the villains are cartoons. Shia LaBeouf has this stupid romance with Dakota Johnson. He does this thing in the gas station where he he barely even speaks like a human being. He starts like in the gas station. He literally did that, and then I showed the clip in my best of video. But the one thing I'll say is that Shia LaBeouf and Zach, the main kid, they're a really good duo. Like, they work really well together, I would say. Like, almost like an Abbott and Costello type thing. And so I would really love to see a movie with them in it again, but actually good writing. Excuse me. Number 5 is You Again. Now, I know you guys are wondering, Marco, why did you see that stupid chick flick? Well, the thing is that when I was a kid, I was a horror fan. I still am a huge horror fan. That's the movies I really like the most. And as a kid, I saw a trailer. I saw, oh, look, it's Jamie Lee Curtis, Sigourney Weaver together in a movie. How could that go wrong? Oh my God. This movie was horrendous. It was about this mean girl and her victim. And this is years later, and it shows that the mean girl hasn't changed, quote unquote. And then they both have daughters. And it's the opposite for them, where the nice girl's daughter's the mean girl, and the mean girl's daughter's the victim, or some stupid shit like that. And, Kristen Bell's in it, Betty White is in it, this one guy's in it with the gray hair, where he's, like, doing this weird food thing where he eats with a blindfold on, and they make that into, like, a joke or something. Like, it's so bad. It's a chick flick, like an old women's chick flick. And it's like, it kind of had an interesting concept, though, of like, you have a mean girl and her victim, and like years later, have they changed? And, do they get back to the same old antics? Like, that kind of sounds like it could be interesting. A movie that did similar things to that was The Best of Times with Robin Williams, where, years later, he was still getting over this football game loss, and he teams up with Kurt Russell to redo the game, and it shows that, like, nothing has changed with them, and so they want to correct that game that they failed. That was this movie done right. This movie was terrible. Some sort of stupid, like, sponsorship where they had to keep on playing We Are the Champions over and over and over again. It wasn't funny. It wasn't interesting. It was just so light and fluffy and barfalicious, and just, I would never watch it again. At least I got it at Kroger for like $5. Number 4 is Our Idiot Brother. Oh, God. Oh, this stars Paul Rudd playing this, like, hippie character who's, like, a loser, quote unquote, and then he has 3 sisters who are all better than him, basically, and it's basically about him interacting with them. It's so bad. It's just so poorly written. There's no comedy. There's no anything in this movie besides just misery. There's all this, like, poverty porn with him, like, just, like, making fun of being a hippie, and, like, just, like, oh, look, he's a hippie, isn't that funny? Ha, 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 ha. His sisters are so much more successful than him. Ha, 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 ha. Like, that's basically this movie. And, the movie itself is just lifeless. It's supposed to be a comedy, but it's more of a drama, and so it's another one of those movies that disguised itself as a comedy in the trailer, which just pisses me off even more. And I really think that Paul Rudd deserves better than this movie. This movie was just abysmal. Number 3 was The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Ugh. That's what I think of this shitty movie. It was made for Netflix, and you can tell. It is probably the worst Coen Brothers movie I've seen. And basically, it's an anthology movie, and oh God, it's bad. First off, you got this stupid, overly long, like, musical story where it's about this one guy, and he's singing, and then he meets a bad guy, and then they shoot each other, and then they start singing together. It's just bad. And then the second story was ruined the moment the movie came out on Twitter and, just on social media in general, with the whole meme where they show James Franco and he says first time, and he's in a noose, and so the joke is like, oh, he survived getting hung, and it's like, wow, thanks a lot. And it makes the anthology story even worse, because it's like, the story is told for nothing. I hate in anthology stories. It's a huge pet peeve of mine, where in every anthology story the main character dies. If you notice that and think about that, every anthology movie is gonna feel the same too, unfortunately. And that's why I like the ones where people don't die, because it's like, oh look, they're doing something different. Instead of just, oh, he gets killed at the end, I hate that. And that's what happens in like every story in this movie. And it's just a stupid story. And then the last story that I suffered through before I just turned it off was this really Debbie Downer depression, like just makes you want to shoot yourself story about this guy with no arms or legs. I believe. I can't remember. Yeah, I think so. And Liam Neeson takes him around so that he can perform stuff, and then all of a sudden this chicken who can move stuff with his beak or something like that, he is outperforming the guy with no arms or legs. And so Liam Neeson buys that chicken and the thing, and then he murders the man with no arms or legs. And he murders him by throwing him off a cliff, and it's just such a gross, it's so pointless and nihilistic. And they had like a sex scene where it's like he got him a prostitute, and there was something weird about that. Like, it was just such a gross, depressing, like pointless movie. I was really looking forward to it too, and then I turned it off. I did not watch anything after that depressing story. Number 2 is The Sitter with Jonah Hill. Now with this movie, it's tricky because the trailer is actually really good. The trailer makes the movie look like it'll be an A+ movie. Well, that's because they showed all the jokes in the trailer. And it's basically Adventures in Babysitting, but with a guy as the babysitter. With like a really, Jonah Hill's the babysitter. He's like a terrible babysitter. And in theory, that sounds like it'd be a really good movie. But unfortunately, it's another one of those movies where they trick you and they say this is going to be a straight up comedy. And that it ends up being like this drama about, oh, he lives at home, that means he's a loser. And then there's this girl that he likes, and she's with a drug dealer, and there's this big stupid chase bullshit with a drug dealer, just hijinks with that. It's just terrible. It's poorly directed. It's directed by the same dipshit who did Halloween 2018. And it's just really bad. And it really pissed me off watching it, the fact that they ripped off Adventures in Babysitting and did such a poor job of remaking it for the modern age. And so that's what I have to say about that. The Sitter sucks. And my number 1 is Toy Story 4, which I know will get me some flack too. I really don't care, because this movie is just insulting on so many levels. It's a straight up feminazi propaganda movie on all fronts. And even if you take all the agenda shit out of it, which is, oh god, there's so many agendas in this movie, you could write a book about all the agendas. But even if you took the agendas out, this is a terrible movie. Terrible Toy Story movie. they basically rip off Toy Story 1, 2, and 3 all together at once. And then they have a terrible ending where Woody abandons the gang so that he can be with Bo Peep, who I don't give a flying F about anymore. And then you have this stupid thing where, like, it's an agenda where Jessie gets to be sheriff because she's a girl. And it's like, she did nothing the whole movie. And then Woody says, oh, you're fit for the job. Wink, wink. And then you have the stupid Forky where it's like, trying to be an analogy for, like, asexual people or some stupid ass shit. And just, what a terrible movie. And not just that, all that stuff, but it's also a really insulting movie to the Toy Story franchise. Because immediately they show, like, Woody being treated terribly. I mean, he's stepped on, he's sat on, he's forgotten about, he's thrown in the back of the closet. Like, this Bonnie bitch does not care about him at all. And then he goes to help her at kindergarten, and this female doll in Bonnie's room yells at Woody for helping her and going with her. I mean, God, what a terrible, disgusting feminazi movie. And then Woody gives up his voice box, which is just, oh, God. That is so insulting to the franchise, so disrespectful to the characters. And then you have Buzz, and he's just, like, there the whole movie, and then all of a sudden he says F you to Woody because, to have drama. And then they have this BS where the villain doll girl, she gets to have a happy ending. It's terrible. I mean, it's so bad. It is so insulting. And this really shows, like, where movies have gotten to. Like, the agendas in this movie are sinister. Like, they had a part, too. Like, the movie could have gotten better because they had this girl named Daisy. And she got Woody. And she liked Woody, and she was starting to play with him. And then, all of a sudden, Woody left her, and then she didn't even look for him. And I thought, wow, that's so terrible. Like, you could have had Woody go with her, and I'd be really happy if, like, he got a new child to be with. Because, that's where a toy's place is. A toy's place is in the home. And, I'm sorry, but toys are not people. Toys are toys. And the whole series understood that until now. That's why it's an agenda. It's because they're trying to apply real life stuff to these toys. Like, if it was a human, obviously, like, they should not be imprisoned inside a child's bedroom for the child to play with all the time. But these are fucking toys. Woody is a toy. He is not some stupid carnival person to go around giving toys homes with Bo Peep and her stupid playthings. Just stupid. I hate this movie. I didn't even do a review on it because I just didn't even want to talk about it anymore. It genuinely upset me a lot, this whole movie. The only thing I liked about the whole movie was Key and Peele. I thought that they were pretty good, especially when they talked about what they were going to do, like planning it out and having these, like, in-depth scenarios with them. I thought that was cool, but other than that, this movie is so disgusting and should be deleted from history. And, the fact that Tim Allen and Tom Hanks cried while reading the ending just shows how gullible these actors are. I mean, those actors should have stood up for these characters. Having it so that Woody and Buzz are never going to see each other again. I mean, how dark of an ending is that? Just think about if this happened in the first Toy Story. If Woody and Bo Peep, they left the gang because they want to go on an adventure together at the carnival. Kids would have been upset. They would have cried. But no, it's okay now because, a woman cannot play with a boy's toy, right? Bonnie, a girl, cannot play with Woody. She has to play with something that she identifies with, right? with the little agendas and all that shit, yeah, this movie is an agenda movie. And it is a sinister, disgusting, garbage agenda movie. That is all it is. So, that's it. If you like this video where I talked about bad movies once again, please give it a thumbs up. Comment on it with your top 10 worst movies of the decade list. And then subscribe to our channel. Alright, goodbye everybody. See you soon.